Hermes draw near, and to my prayer incline, in arts gymnastic and in fraud divine.
Dire weapon of the tongue which men revere, be present, Hermes, in thy suppliant here.
Welcome to Third Eye Bind, episode 29, Extraterrestrials.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Kaitlyn.
And welcome to Third Eye Bind.
In this episode, we're discussing
Extraterrestrials. If you'd like to support the podcast, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, telling your friends about us. And if you really like us, you can support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a day. Patreon.com/thirdEyeBind.
Yes. Well,
hello.
We are excited and
A little bit perturbed
terrified
to be discussing this topic today.
There are a lot of feelings that we're feeling about this topic, and I think that's probably why we have the giggles so hard.
There's some mild trepidation on my part. But let's pull a card about aliens, shall we?
Honestly, I literally have no idea what.
If this is your first episode, I maybe suggest listening to any other episode of this podcast because we usually are not this giggly, and this is going to be a weird one.
Ooh, that's it.
That's it?
Okay.
Can I see it? Oh. Okay.
It's interesting.
That's very interesting.
So I pulled the Ten of Pentacles, and immediately what's coming through is that, okay, the Ten of Pentacles is a card of legacy, a card of stories, lore, and history that gets passed on from generation to generation. It is a story of resource being available and passed on from generation to generation. And we're going to get into a lot of different perspectives today about extraterrestrials, spiritual, pop culture, literature, current media and events. And I think the real message here is about lore and about how humans enjoy passing lore on, and how in our desire to understand our unique place in this universe, on this spinning rock that somehow, by some miraculous series of events, can support life beyond just amoebas or trees, but animal life, incredible plant life, human life. We desire to explain how and why. We want to understand how and why. And from what I'm understanding about extraterrestrials and UFOs and all of these things, is that they're definitely wrapped into this human desire to understand why we're here, what our purpose is, and what's supposed to come next.
And what else is out there?
And what else is out there? Are we alone? And that's not so dissimilar from religion, really.
No, it's not.
But in many ways, it is very dissimilar. And we're going to get into it, because here's the thing. We're not non-believers.
No, we're not.
But
There's just some things that are trending that are interesting, and we'd like to take a deeper dive into the origins of such thoughts and practices.
yes. And, I think that the extraterrestrial situation that we see the most, that we hear the most about these days, right now, are like starseeds.
Yes, which we have covered briefly in many episodes.
Just keeps coming up. And starseeds are a New Age theory about alien-human hybrid people. This theory was first introduced in 1976 by someone named Brad Stager in his book, Gods of Aquarius. And it argues that certain people originated as extraterrestrials and arrived on Earth through birth or walk-in to an existing human body. And apparently, like, you have total amnesia about these other lifetimes as an extraterrestrial, and part of your life's purpose is to rediscover what it is. And so because this is so prevalent in spaces like spiritual TikTok and spiritual YouTube, I had to dig deeper. I need to know where it started before 1976, because that's just how my brain works. And would you like me to share?
Yes, I would.
What I've discovered with you. Okay. So what I've discovered is that starseeds, as many things, have very deep historical links to fascism and white supremacy. And it all starts way back in the 1880s. At the end of the 19th century, there was this like big craze amongst especially Americans, but also like in the UK, there was this craze. People were very interested in like outer space. And I feel like it probably came from this desire to reject traditional spirituality, like Christianity, because, you know, people were getting over it at that time,
like science fiction becoming a big deal?
Science
like
fiction,
Wells and
exactly.
Jules Verne and all that.
Oh, H.G. Wells is a part of this. So like, voyages to space, experiences with extraterrestrials, very popular. It was even very popular amongst the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And Aleister Crowley was really into astral travel, specifically to other planets. And he would document these visualizations and exercises and draw pictures of these different extraterrestrial beings that they would interact with during their astral travels, right? But what's interesting about the Golden Dawn, which, by the way, if you don't know this, one of my favorite stories about the Golden Dawn is that on his birthday, W.B. Yeats kicked Aleister Crowley down the stairs because he was tired of his shit.
I think a booger just came out of my nose. Wow.
Kicked him down the stairs. Anyway, the Golden Dawn themselves were really an elite organization because they were interested in only the best becoming a greater version, an evolved, higher version of superhumans. And they talked about things like occult eugenics and how you could draw down powers from the stars during procreation and pregnancy, and that created moon children. I don't disagree that you can call upon the stars and the moon and ask them to like bless you and be embodied by them. So again, trickster energy, we're going to...
Yeah, full disclosure, like our show is about looking at things from all different angles and through a trickster lens. So we will be not doing this to focus, you know, criticism on one thing.
No.
We're exploring all angles, and this is what we're coming up with. So we're trying to be as unbiased as we can be right now.
We also had at that time H.G. Wells, who was writing sci-fi novels about aliens shooting beams onto Earth that altered genetics of specific humans to create a superior human race. So again, we have this othering, the superiority thing.
Idealistic, superior vision of how humans should look and act and be.
Yes.
Which tends to lead to
fascism. So then we have the greatest occult influence for UFO culture came around that time in the 1870s from a Russian woman named Madame Helena Blavatsky, and it's called Theosophy. And Theosophy emerged as a reaction to, you know, the success of Darwinism, and even Darwinism has problems with superiority and elitism, and scientific materialisms of the 1860s and 70s. And Blavatsky believed through her occult wisdom that spiritual evolution, that evolution was a spiritual process guided by a handful of superhuman beings called the Masters, some of whom lived on Earth and some on other planets. So again,
Can we pause here and just talk about the name the Masters as a superior? Maybe that was
in the 1800s.
in the 1800s.
It's not a good look.
It's not exactly the look we're going for here.
It's not. Yeah, it's not helping.
It's not helping.
It's not helping.
This cause right now. So continue.
So clearly we're trying to
Red
appeal
flags.
to a certain type of person with this language.
A white person, most likely. But continue.
So she claimed that humanity's been evolving for millions of years through various root races. And these root races were Lemurians, Atlanteans, and the present dominant race, the Aryans.
Okay. And is she speaking about Aryans as in blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people?
Yeah,
Or okay.
tall.
Tall, I'm sorry. Tall.
Tall is
blonde-haired,
important. Yeah.
Blue-eyed white people.
Thin also.
Tall. I'm
you
sorry,
have to be thin.
I'm sorry, thin.
Otherwise,
So basically, the beauty standard that's been upheld until like the current time. Okay.
yes. You are correct.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so lower races, so anyone who wasn't Aryan.
But Lemurians and all that, those are like alien races, right?
So
that are
Lemurians and Atlanteans are supposedly alien races that
that
live
were here,
underground.
like
in the
because
earth.
Atlantis is a lost
city. Right?
So they're
there's
saying that there's still Atlanteans. That
So they're
are,
saying like the Aryans are like either the descendants or the next in line
So
in
they're-
the spiritual evolution.
oh, okay.
I know.
Okay.
And Blavatsky also thought that lower races, so anyone who's not Aryan, were destined to die out and be succeeded by higher races. So clearly,
God.
this caught on in the early 19th century in Germany and
we go.
started to become integrated into German paganism, which is, we've said it before on the show,
Wow.
be careful with Germanic and Norse paganism
Yes.
because those ideologies are still very mixy.
Yeah.
So this
Wow.
sort of spiritual racism had profound influence on the Nazis, including Hitler.
Adolf Hitler was a fan.
Adolf Hitler was a fan who believed in the Hyperborean race theory, which suggested Aryans weren't the same species as other races, that they specifically emerged from the lost civilization of Atlantis, somewhere frozen in the north. And Hitler saw it as his spiritual mission,
To
purifying and
cleanse.
perfecting the blonde, blue-eyed Aryan race, which is also like,
God.
you are a small, dark-haired, dark-eyed man. Where did this even... Anyway,
Yeah.
so it involved the subjugation and elimination of all other inferior races. So that takes us to the early 1940s, right? And then we get to the 1950s. The Soviet space program was launched. The space race began.
We landed on the moon.
And that was when people really started talking more and more about UFO sightings, especially in the press.
Yeah.
It was a big deal in the press. And in 1952, a Californian called George Adamski claimed he met an extraterrestrial through this meeting. He began shifting the ideas of Theosophy into space and applying it to extraterrestrials. So Theosophy started as ancient races on Earth, and he pushed it up into the sky,
This
into
is the
UFO
50s?
culture.
We're in the 50s,
This
right?
is the 50s.
Yeah. There's
Still
also
terrible.
I think there's been some rumors of like US presidents interacting with aliens. There was like Roswell, I believe, happened around that
Somewhere
time.
around there.
So
There was also
Yeah.
still Jim Crow.
yeah.
So there's like just
There's a lot
there's a lot going on, right? And he brings you find the racism in the Theosophy of UFO culture because many of the aliens encountered in the 1950s that were written about in the press were, of course, remarkably Aryan.
Yeah.
There was one very famous one called Orthon, and he was described as tall, sandy-haired, blue-eyed, chiseled face. Many other alien encounters documented, they were all blonde aliens, or they called them Nordic aliens. And white supremacists fucking love that shit.
Yes,
and
they
celebrated the superiority of the Nordic race because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're from the stars. And it's like, we're all made of stardust. One of the offshoots of Adamski's spiritual society is called the I Am movement, which was started by Guy Ballard in the 30s. And Guy Ballard was another one who claimed to have encountered Aryan, specifically extraterrestrials, on Mount Shasta. People are still...
Mount Shasta is a very active...
It's very active.
...place that has a lot of lore attached to it about aliens and everything, really. Everything you could possibly imagine. Bigfoots, like cryptids of all sorts, like all these things that are just jumbled into this place.
And a part of me wonders if some of these sightings were like cryptids.
Right.
Like, what if they're just elder earth spirits? What if they're like fucking elves?
Or elementals or something.
Elementals,
Right.
yeah.
That's absolutely true. And it's funny, like a little side note, a lot of Bigfoot theory is that Bigfoot is an alien, or that he can
Really?
or that alien Bigfoot go hand in hand, like where there's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot, there's a lot of UFO sightings.
What?
Yeah, so there's all this weird overlap, and like basically the popular reason for like Bigfoot's, like, you know, you see footprints and then they just disappear, is that he's an interdimensional being, so that I don't know, but there's a lot of like Bigfoot can jump through portals type of shit in the
Maybe.
woods. They're cryptids, if that's
Right,
I don't know.
maybe.
I don't know the answer. It's just a lot of things that are swirling. So, okay, continue.
Okay, so then another member of Adamski's spiritual society is named William Dudley Pelley, and he went on to create his own fascist organization, suggesting that humans were created by star guests from the star Sirius,
Here we go.
who interbred with apes from Earth. Pelley called this alien intervention celestial eugenics, but it didn't go as planned. The aliens and their hybrid and offspring bred with animals too indiscriminately. And basically, all of the result of this was a great abomination of various races on Earth now. And there were only 144,000 pure souls.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So in short, this guy's saying the aliens fucked too many random animals and then they made Asian people? Like what?
Yeah, just
Like
anyone,
just
who's, not Aryan
like Aryan.
is
What the fuck?
an abomination.
It's a mistake, an abomination.
An abomination, yeah, or a
Oopsie
insufferable
daisy.
bastard creation is what he liked to call anyone who wasn't Aryan.
Okay.
And that there were only 144,000 pure souls on the entire earth. And there were also foreign spirits who are meddling, lying alien menace. And specifically, they were serpent-like, and they were often associated by these organizations with Jews. So, and that is something you see a lot in Nazi propaganda,
Yes.
is conflating, cartoonizing, I guess,
Yeah,
like Jewish
like
people
using this
into
awful
stereotype
and-
of serpents.
Yeah, this caricature. That's the word, caricature of these, yeah.
And Pele says that the age of Aquarius is coming, but first we need spiritual eugenics to cleanse the humanity of the bastard hybrids and foreign spirits, and that the ethnic cleansing will be led by a divine ruler of Sirius, the star. And like Sirius, the star, is a star that is revered by so many ancient and present cultures. Sirius was a big deal to the Egyptians. Sirius is a big deal to Mesoamericans because it's the brightest star. It's something you see from Earth with your own eyes. And
How
it's
dare
just,
he use that to weaponize against those people that revered it, essentially.
Yep.
That's disgusting.
And this is where the idea of reptilian people comes from, which
Can I
is...
roll my eyes back in my head further?
Yeah.
I don't think I can. Let me try. Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
And that reptilian theory is something that persists today, that is mainly used to villainize and dehumanize Jews specifically, but people of color.
Yeah.
So there's a theme. There's a theme. You know, aliens continue to have... So later alien contacts, originally they were mostly like Aryan, right? But then we start seeing sightings that are very anti-Semitic in nature. We start seeing more and more of these like reptilian type of spirits, and it really fed into this like anti-Semitic
So the
ideology.
reptilian species theory is that the reptilians are like a caricature of Jewish people, or that the reptilians are like they're Aryan.
So the reptilians are like, according to them, like, how do I say this?
Yeah, it's
because like
confusing.
I don't believe this, so I don't want to say it in a way that's disrespectful. But in their idea,
like, do they think the reptilians are a good or bad?
Bad.
Okay, so
yeah,
that's
the
that's all I was
reptilians are
asking.
bad,
Yeah.
like, you know, slithering on their
Right.
bellies, snakes.
Look, I've known people I'm no longer friends with that were very into Norse mythology and that believed in reptilians, and it irked me in the worst way, and it was very strange.
Dog whistles
And
is
I
what
think,
we call them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, a reptilian." I don't think they have any idea about this history and this association. A
Maybe
lot
not
of
at
people,
first.
not at first.
Yeah.
Maybe they come to it by way of like other algorithms that they're a part of. But I didn't know that, and I don't know that the people I was friends with knew that consciously. But it's these things that, like what the fuck is the card? The Ten of Pentacles? Like
Yeah.
the lore, the legacy of something is so easy and quick to spread.
Google.
And look at this very researchable thing.
Well, and like,
that found.
how do you separate the belief from the history that cultivated it?
I don't think you do.
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can, and definitely not using the same sort of terminology that was used.
And what's also interesting is like, this is recent history.
This is recent history.
This isn't ancient history. This isn't ancestral wisdom. This is starting at the finish line of the transatlantic slave trade.
Yes.
Is when this starts.
Like, oh, interesting that after that ends, this sort of
We have to find a new way.
To be awful.
To oppress people.
Yes. And to
Yep.
justify it through like the means of like sci-fi. Like that's
so
you
creative.
know, and it's just made up by these fascist men and women
and women. Absolutely.
that are projecting their own like racist fucking agendas onto like these beliefs, and then they get cycled, and now we're here talking about it, and it's 2023.
And I have to wonder, like, do these ideas come from their desire to, I don't know, like, is it they know that they're wrong, so they need to make it like celestial and spiritual in
So
order to
it's
make it
appetizing?
right? Or is it like they're just that fucking delusional? Like, I don't understand.
like, is it calculated, or is it
right?
just...
Or do they really believe this?
Look, this is a running theme in today's episode.
We will keep getting in. Do they really believe
Do
this?
they really believe this shit? Honest question, not even...
Okay,
Yeah.
and then like in the 90s even, British theosophical conspiracy theorist David Icke claimed the human race is under attack by alien reptile race of Lemurians who have perpetuated their race by breeding with particular families, including the Rothschilds. And that's where you start to get into that, like, Alex Jones, like New World Order. Like, has anybody been to the Denver airport? Have you two been to the Denver airport? Have you ever looked at the walls?
Wait, what? I forgot what this is about. I've heard this before.
I'll show you some
Okay.
I'll show you some videos later.
I'm scared.
It's weird. But so
I'm like,
Ike imports much of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a book, into his fantasies about these probably not real
yeah.
reptiles. And he published a book as an appendix to one of his works, and he like replaced all of the words for Jews. He replaced all of the words that said Jews with lizards to like further intertwine this theory.
What the
fuck? It's fucked up, right? Okay, so then in the 70s, we get the contemporary phenomenon of starseeds. People who think they're actually aliens themselves.
Yeah.
So like Crowley had this idea of moon children, and we're channeling the moon, and that can make us celestial. And H.G. Wells had star begotten, which is the stars are shooting laser beams into pregnant bellies and making them into celestial beings.
Cool stories.
But starseed is first coined by none other than Timothy Leary.
Wow.
In early 70s, Leary's in Folsom Prison, having been arrested for drug trafficking. And he claims to start receiving messages from the star Sirius, calling humanity to evolve into interstellar super beings. And he and another inmate who also claimed he received Sirian messages shared these communications in their book in 74 called Terra 2, A Way Out. And the aliens evidently urged Leary to gather 5,000 of the smartest, sexiest, and healthiest humans onto a spaceship to leave Earth and seed another planet and raise a new species of ultra-intelligent, long-living blondes.
Oh, wait. That wasn't very...
Christ. So again...
Good.
It's not that I don't believe in extraterrestrials. I'll talk about why I do believe in them at some point. But it's the lore behind how most Western cultures view extraterrestrials that is frightening.
That is frightening and scary. That it's like being like the Ten of Pentacles. Look, the tarot is bad nor good. Okay, the tarot is telling how it is. It's being masqueraded and cycled through pop culture, TikTok,
generation after generation,
spiritual Instagram, whatever the fuck. Like
it started in all of these novels,
and
now it's on TikTok and
now
YouTube.
it's popular for these kids.
They're kids.
Most of them are younger than us, so we call them kids. And I don't know that they know this history. I'm pretty sure they don't. So
yeah.
It's just scary. It's really scary that they don't know.
It gets worse. In 77, Stuart Brand published an issue of the Coevolution Quarterly dedicated to space colonies, in which white supremacist ecologist Garrett Hardin suggested that any space colonies could only function if they were monocultural and monoracial.
No.
Yeah. Never mind dealing with the problems that are on Earth.
Yeah, they don't want to do that.
Never mind handling houselessness, hunger, war, climate change. We just need to find a monoracial Aryan
all need to
colony
be together
on Mars.
That's like bypassing all of the problems.
That's my biggest issue with all of this.
No, yeah, same.
And my biggest issue with all of this lore is that it's just like gaslighting the shit out of us and ignoring all of the problems that exist on Earth that we actually should be working together towards resolving, and just focusing on making this Aryan nation in space.
And the connection
handhold
with fucking love and light culture is they go hand in hand.
Hand in hand. They do.
Gaslighting, ignoring issues, saying you need to level up, you're not at my level. This idea of a hierarchy, ascension, they're all the same idea at the end of the day.
And like the ascension thing makes me like, it fries my ass, because I think that evolving spiritually as a human being is grounding.
Yeah. I don't think it's
into our
going
planet.
up. It's like
Yeah.
dissension into ourselves.
Grounding into our bodies, our identities,
Yes.
our purpose. We are earthlings.
We are earthlings.
Newsflash, you're already an extraterrestrial. You live on a planet.
You live on a planet.
In space.
We're in space, you guys. Gravity.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, you're human.
Figure out your own lore and history instead of making up space history.
That's like racist. Like,
Super
let's not
fucking
do that.
racist.
That's
like,
based on
it's
some,
like beyond
some
racist.
dude
It's
made
like,
it up.
Like violent. It's
scary. It's extreme.
It's sick.
It's extremism and it's cult-like.
It's extremism. I agree.
And it's culty as fuck.
So then the idea of starseeds, whose souls originate on another planet but then are reborn here, became popular in the 80s with a guy called Brad Steiger. Originally, he was writing fantasy books about werewolves and vampires, which is my preferred fantasy genre.
Brad.
Especially if it's YA.
Yeah, stick to that, man.
Werewolves, vampires. Once it gets into sci-fi, I'm out. If it's not Star Trek
I don't like it.
or Star Wars, and only Star Trek, Enterprise, or Deep Space Nine.
I'm a Star Wars girl myself.
I love Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars.
I love the hero's journey. I'm a fan of the hero's journey.
But that's it. Because sci-fi novels are fucking weird. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Some guy in the recesses of the internet's gonna be mad, but he's gonna be mad anyway. So
Yeah, it's
fine.
They're also stories, and you're allowed to like stories for what they are.
Totally.
But they're not
Without making them
real.
literal. AKA the Bible. AKA Genesis.
Genesis.
So, first he started with vampires and werewolves, a very respectable genre to be in.
Respectable man.
And then he moved into creating one of the first Starseeds questionnaires, which cracks me up because everywhere on the internet, there are a million quizzes about like, identify the type of Starseed you are.
should take a quiz.
Find out if you're a Starseed. We should.
On
For, like,
we'll put it on our
patrons.
Patreon.
Yeah, we'll take the quiz together.
We're going to take it.
So Steiger claimed he could identify starseeds through his special questionnaire, and he would ask readers, did you always feel your parents weren't your real parents and you have ancient ancestors? Are you usually sensitive to light and emotions? Do you suffer from sinusitis?
Do you have eyeballs and breathe? Like, what? Of course I'm sensitive to light. And what is the other one? Sound?
Like, I'm sensitive to light
I'm
and
sensitive to
emotions. I
everything.
am literally autistic.
Yeah, like, isn't that, honestly,
No overhead lights ever.
What?
No, but like, I feel like when people are going through it and they're looking at shit like this, they
Yeah.
probably are having a hard time with their parents.
What if they're
You know?
teenagers? And it's funny because all these younger kids now that are into this, probably like, my mom doesn't get me. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
We're at that stage. We've all been there.
We've all been there.
But like at that stage, yeah, it might have been like, I'm a fucking starseed.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not,
Again.
it's just, you're young, you're
It's
impressionable.
kind of giving the whole like cult-like thing,
It's a
like
cult.
preying on people when they're vulnerable
Yeah.
and feeling detached.
Yes.
And like, do you have ancient ancestors? We all
We
do.
all have ancient ancestors.
That's why we exist. We all have ancient ancestors
Yeah, that's a dumb question.
on Earth.
On Earth, though.
I'm not saying it's not impossible to live alternate lives on other planets.
Yeah.
I
We're not
do-
even saying that.
I do think that's possible. But
But this lens of racist, fascist extremism is not it.
it's weird.
It's really weird.
So according to your responses, you would either be a starseed if you're a man and a star maiden if you're a woman, because everything must be binary. And if you're not that special, you're a star helper.
I'm a star helper.
So needless to say, people fucking loved this shit in like 80s new age and UFO circles. Super into it. People start declaring themselves star seeds. Past life regression hypnotics became really popular during this time. And
Yeah.
again, I believe in I call them alternate lives because time is not linear. Nothing's really in the past or the future.
Yeah.
Everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Movie of the year.
Movie of the year. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Literally. But with past life regression, specifically like in the hypnosis and therapy, like a lot of stuff has come up that like it kind of has the potential to implant false memories. And so there's just a lot of like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I come from a tradition where like elders and practitioners can tell you exactly what your past lives were without going into hypnosis. Is that different? I don't know. It's been around a hell of a lot longer than past life regression hypnosis. So anyway, today, you don't have to stop at just calling yourself a starseed.
Oh, no?
There's an endless array of different alien races and species you may have been in a past life.
Okay.
I saw a YouTube video for 7 different aliens. I saw a YouTube video for 17 different alien species of starseeds. Some of the most popular I saw were Pleiadians, Lyrians, Syrians, Arcturians,
real
Lemurians. Some from Orion's belt. No, Syria is like a place. Syrians. There was like ancient Syrians too, but they're talking about Syrian like
I know,
the star.
but like you can't just like.
I know.
Okay, it's fine.
They're like Mesopotamians, Babylonians, Sumerians.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't just like call these ancient civilizations aliens.
Okay, and
but that's a whole thing. That's not all, folks.
And you know, like new agers who are into this shit are happy to take your money to help you figure out what kind of
because
starseed you are.
It makes life more interesting.
The Viking guy on January 6th who rushed the Capitol.
The insurrection, remember that?
He's the leader of Starseed Academy, where you can buy courses from him about how to be a star. From him. On how to be a starseed. And like, here's the thing.
I don't know what to even say about that.
This might be controversial.
It's third eye bind.
But in my heart of hearts, I feel like people in the community that I service, you know, some of them have called themselves starseeds or have asked me about starseeds, but I don't think they actually know much about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And most of them are coming from like Catholic or Christian strict backgrounds and are trying to find what else is out there, right?
Or a loophole of some sort.
But like in my heart of hearts, I feel like a lot of the people who are the face for this like Starseed, Ascension, 5D stuff, I kind of think they do know.
Mm-hmm. Well, that guy definitely knows.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think they know.
That's not controversial. That's just
think that,
obvious.
Like, their minds aren't going to be changed by this episode.
No.
And I think that, like, in some sick and twisted way, they're, like, proud of it. The same way fucking Nazis wore swastikas on their arms.
Well, you can't. Well, I was going to say you can't call yourself a Nazi anymore, but you can.
You can, and people do. And they're fine with it.
Or they're quiet about it, and maybe they express it by calling themselves starseeds,
right?
Or pushing that agenda because they know at the root of it is this belief that they uphold.
Exactly,
right?
That's what scares me.
Yeah,
the most.
That's scary about, especially with people that maybe don't know.
There's also a very like strong Christian like Jehovah's like rapture vibe to UFO culture. And a lot of this comes from Dolores Cannon, who was a past life regressionist hypnotist. And this is where the whole 5D thing comes from. There's a higher 5th dimensional level where all of those inferior races will fail to evolve to, and that the earth will be split into a new earth where everything is wonderful and the old earth where everything is terrible. And they believed it was going to happen in 2012. But it didn't happen. So then what do you do with yourself?
Why did they think it was 2012?
I don't fucking know.
Wasn't that the Mayan calendar?
That was the Mayan calendar.
Did they just use that date because they thought, why not?
They were like, I'll just appropriate this.
Did they think Mayans were starseeds too?
Did they think Mayans think the world was actually going to end?
Yeah, also that.
Or was the calendar just starting over?
The calendar was just...
Every December, the world is going to end.
Dude, okay.
So, there's also reminiscent of like Pentecostal Christianity is light language.
Let's
which
talk about light language for a
some
minute.
starseeds speak, which is a cosmic version of
Gibberish?
speaking in tongues, if you will.
Yeah, it's the same thing on view as a viewer as speaking in tongues. It's the same thing to me personally.
Laura and I watched a video from a practitioner who does this for trade, who was like hosting this session to open up the client to speaking light language.
Yeah.
And there were some things that really stood out to us.
There were a few things. Mostly how many Buddhist statues they had on their altar space, which they showed to the camera.
Yeah.
And just how many appropriative cultural objects were just mishmashed into their practice. And this person was a white person. So upon, as far as I know, they are not Egyptian nor Asian.
No.
So, yeah.
Nor did they ever once reference a mentor, a teacher, where they got this from. They said that it just happened one day through a series of events.
I believe they said they didn't even say, this is a Buddhist statue.
No.
Let's talk about that a little bit in that culture. They were like, my cat's name is, it was an Egyptian goddess's name. And nothing about this concerned the participant who was filming all this.
And also white.
And
very young.
And very excited to meet this person. And they also had a witch's broom, which they said was a symbol of magic. But they would never ride on it.
Boring.
So they basically put down witches, or the assumption of any sort of fun riding on a broom. Look, you can't practice magic while looking down your nose at it. I've said it again. You also can't practice and appropriate people's cultures if you don't respect it at the very least.
At the very least.
It was just like a mishmash of appropriation I had never seen with my own eyes. And then they started speaking in tongues. And there were a lot of crystals, of course.
So many crystals.
Like too many. And it was just...
Something that I noticed too was that the sessions started very early in the day. And by the time they were doing the light language part, like actually channeling, it was late at night. Which makes me think like they were there all day long. I don't know what the budget was. It didn't seem like the type of situation that had craft services. I'm sure the girl was hungry.
Yeah.
And probably thirsty because, I'm sorry, like, I'm going to sound like an asshole.
No,
But, like, I know that white girl did not have snacks out.
Yeah.
Or refill her water bottle. I just know. It's just culturally not a thing.
It's just like...
And, like, I can't help but wonder. And she also mentioned that she had been feeling, like, really low.
Yeah.
She was in like a depressive state.
She was
and
looking
was struggling.
for help.
Exactly. And I think that this combination of all these things together.
Also the idolatry and worship that she had for this person before the meeting was very apparent.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add that later.
No. That was very important.
She was a fan.
A huge fan.
A huge fan.
So all of these ingredients mixed together.
What do they equal? Cult-like behavior.
Literally. Yes.
Cult leader vibes.
Yeah. And we watched them speak the light language.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it kind of reminds me of, like, when little kids are like, blah, 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 blah. Like, my kids do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's our secret language. I'm like, okay. Well, as long as you don't need me to understand what you're saying when you're doing
It's
that.
like, look, I had made up a language with my third grade best friend. And if TikTok had been around, maybe that would have turned into a thing. I don't know. Like, is this in part because the internet is there to capture these young people's like strange phases? And there's just so much info at them. Like, I think that has to do with why these things get picked up and legacied. Like the Ten of Pentacles, like they're just regurgitated constantly, and kids take in so much, and it's just trendy and like. But yeah, the tongues was very much like, if this was really an alien language, then why does it sound like humans when little kids do gibberish?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're using your mouth and the way that you speak as a human to speak an alien. It just doesn't really add up to me.
Is interesting to me is, like, as a medium, I channel spirits from all over the galaxy.
Right. Have you had
all
experiences
across the galaxy.
with extraterrestrials?
And I've had experiences with extraterrestrials, but more like relatably, I've had experiences. I channel French spirits. I channel spirits from South Asia. I channel spirits from, that speak Portuguese. But when I speak,
Bom dia.
I'm speaking English. It literally comes to me through a translation. Like, I feel, it almost feels like a wheel is turning, and I see them talking and the words moving towards me. And when they come out of my mouth, it comes out in English.
Right.
Because that's
your
the language I know how to speak. And I often will tell a client, like, this is coming through translation. Something might get lost in translation. And sometimes I'll say, like, I think there's not a word in English for what they're trying to say, but I'm going to do my best to explain the feeling.
Right.
But it never comes through in the language of origin. Mm-hmm. And that's something that just dawned on me right now. So, like, and of course, like, my mediumship experience is not everybody's mediumship experience. I don't want to say that it is.
To be fair, yes.
But
that could be different.
For me personally, it's suspicious.
Why is it not coming out as her native language?
Yeah.
But they did mention that they were an alien.
Right. So
multiple times.
That is
for sure an
her
alien.
Native language. Right.
So that would be their native
Okay.
language.
But here's the other thing. Like, I have had alternate lifetimes in different places on Earth. I certainly remember a few of them. And I never talk about them because, like, that shit's personal. But, like, I don't come out speaking like Catalan. Like, I don't know how to do that. Even though I have these memories of this place. Like, I have memories of being in, like, Mesoamerica. Like, I can't speak Nahuatl. And I don't even think I was speaking Nahuatl in that lifetime. It was something else.
Right.
And so, like, I hate talking about this shit because I sound like a new ager, and I'm not.
No, but we're exploring this.
Because I'm respectful.
It is fair. We need to be honest about this shit.
It's just, I'm not sold.
I am not sold in any sort of way.
I'm not sold. And again, starseeds are very much wrapped up in, like, DNA activation. And that was something that the practitioner said. It's activating your DNA. It's activating your DNA. They're all about, like, altering your DNA to make you the superior race.
Yeah.
And so now, flash forward to 2023, it's really taking off with Gen Z on TikTok, where there's billions of views on Starseed content, new books about Starseed content. And something interesting that I read from, who was it that wrote this? I'll credit them in the show notes, but something interesting that I read is perhaps Gen Z and millennials feel like they've been born into such a heavy geopolitical situation that the best solution is extreme dissociation. Find a happy place in another galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And, like, that, I feel that.
I feel that too. And I think that a lot of that is what's going on.
Absolutely.
I really, really do.
Millennials, we've been through how many?
A lot.
Recessions now.
A lot of things.
We've been through some horrific.
It's a lot of stuff. And, we're not the only generation to see a lot of things, but we are. And
but we're the 30-year-olds
now. We're the 36-year-olds, or I am at least. And yeah, we're in our 30s, and that's, we're sitting here and we're talking. So that's our experience. Like, it's been a lot. So I do understand why these kids or these younger people are drawn to this extreme. That's such a good way to put it. Extreme dissociation. It is extreme because you're literally saying, I'm not even human, I'm an alien.
I'm not from Earth.
I'm not from here. And I don't blame you sometimes, like why you would want to think that you're not from here. But as witches, we are of this planet and we are of this earth. So for witchcraft to get mixed in with this it's just a lot to unpack for me because they're so wanting to go up and out, and I just constantly want to be grounded and here and go deeper. So it's, but witchcraft is a tool for everyone to use in their own right. So there's also that. It's not a religion. It's just interesting how it's getting mixed in with this kind of celestial wanting. And
you said witchcraft is for everyone.
Yeah.
And witchcraft is about grounding into the earth and healing ourselves by building better relationships with earth and with one another.
And with one another.
But this Starseed ideology is not about everyone.
No, it's not.
And that's something that continues to be persistent in the legacy of this narrative that it's not for everyone.
And then if someone challenges that, they're told they aren't elevated enough.
You just don't get it.
You just don't get it. You just don't understand. What are they really saying? And who are they saying it to when they say that?
I think that this idea of being spiritually special is unhealthy. Of being spiritually superior is dangerous, even.
Mad chills.
And like, it makes me mad to think that there's this idea that the earth could split in half and some people will be left behind in the bad earth and some people will be left behind
I'm
earth.
channeling. To seek spiritual superiority is to drown in yourself. Sorry, I had to say that while I'm like stuttering. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, someone's talking to me.
Absolutely.
It's not an alien. It's my guides. They're just like, you get upset. It's frustrating.
Yes. Well,
it's frustrating.
I've channeled lots of things about like the new generation of Earth, And when the spirits have talked to me about that, it's not something that just happens overnight and the Earth splits in half. It's this long-term process that we are all collectively a part of by turning inward and doing our part to be the best versions of ourselves we can be, the most in right relationship we can be, the most empathetic, compassionate, brave people we can be. Like, that has a ripple effect. And it changes the generations behind us and the generations in front of us. And the amount of fuckery that we are in at this point in history isn't just going to suddenly be resolved by the earth breaking in half. It's a marathon, not a race. And it's one that we're going to be running for a long time. But it's one that I do believe we're going to see a finish line to. I might not get to see it. My kids probably won't get to see it, but maybe my great-great-grandkids will. And like, that makes it worth it to me. That's that 10 of Pentacles energy that like my investment in my healing and the healing of my family line, forward and backwards, might mean that 4, 5, 6 generations from now, this world might actually be an equitable place. And for me, that's fucking worth it.
Yeah.
And I think like Starseed ideology feeds into that like need for instant gratification. We're just going to beam up.
Or like that need to get rid of good people that are just different than them.
Yeah.
That's
who are not white.
That's what fucking
Nazis
really what it
is.
did. Like this happened before. And it was awful.
Right.
And one of the most like the most horrific things that ever happened to the human race. And I'd hope that all of that would have been cauterized by seeing what had happened to those people in the 40s, but it's not.
It's not.
These things persist, and you have to be diligent about what you consume spiritually. It's so fucking dangerous.
It persists. And, you know, when you think about how so much of Nazism was inspired by Jim Crow laws and the way the United States treated black folks.
Yeah.
Like, they were the inspo board, the United States. And so it's almost like unavoidable that ideologies like this exist where we live, because it's as American as apple fucking pie, right?
Yeah, no, America is very founded on fucking just the worst practices. You're right. There is no wonder, but hopefully by talking about this stuff on this podcast where we examine these things, hopefully that will help somebody inform somebody else, or just think twice about it, because I don't want to say like this land is cursed, but you know, there's a lot of things we need to be aware of and like rectify and start to heal. Yeah. And so I guess the way that we can do that in this one way is to talk about this stuff, because it's so prevalent. Like, it scares the shit out of me.
It scares me.
I don't spend a lot of time on Witch Talk or TikTok and all that, but
and like, this is why I don't like shit like this is everywhere.
Yeah, no, it scares the shit out of me. Like, whoa.
It's fine. I have Apple Care.
I don't even have words all the time. Just seeing how that person like really believed they were an alien and really believed that they were speaking in this language, and then how that participant like was so like, and look, if it weren't based in this kind of ideology, this like damaging ideology, if it makes you happy, cool. I wouldn't really
If it makes you a better person, cool. Yeah, I don't care what weird shit you're up to.
I don't care. I'm all for weird shit.
Yeah.
If you want to say you're an alien and it makes other people happy, cool. But it's the origins of it that are super problematic and not things I believe in.
I just don't think you can separate them. And this Starseed thing, I just don't think you can separate it from.
It's really deeply rooted in that.
Yeah, it's. And do you know what? I was thinking about that person again and their altars and all the stuff, and like, I think Starseed is a really easy way to skip the hard work of figuring out who your ancestors are. And here's the crazy thing, is that it's mostly white people who are into this Starseed thing, because it's for you. It's for
clearly
you.
It is for you.
Only. It's only for you.
It's for me.
No, you're not blonde. You're not blonde.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm a redhead.
You would just be a star helper. Sorry.
Damn it.
You can't be a Starseed.
I can't be a Starseed. Be a star helper.
Sorry.
Damn you, Portuguese ancestors.
You're not invited to the space party.
My daddy's
Laura.
a Starseed. I'm just kidding, Dad. You're not a Starseed.
He's a nice folk Catholic.
Does red hair, green eyes count? No.
No,
it doesn't. Okay, then I don't really have that. Okay, it makes me feel better.
But like,
I can't be a Starseed.
It's a really good way for folks of a very specific phenotype to completely skip over the hard work of figuring out who your ancestors are. Oh, and that's where I was going with it. If you're of European descent, It's not that hard to figure out who your ancestors are, though.
It's not that hard.
It takes less effort to do a 23 and fucking me than it does sign up for Ancestry.com.
Than to pay this person $10,000 or whatever it is to tell you that you're an alien.
Hours and hours of your life on YouTube figuring out about which exact starseed race of the 18,000 galaxies you might belong to. Take a 23andMe. Like, it's fine. The government already has all your information anyway, my friend. Like, if your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents came on the Mayflower, they know who you are.
Yeah.
You're not hiding from them. So, like, just
God.
do that work instead, and I promise it's more fun, too.
And it's, like, real.
And it's
not
real.
mean-spirited.
And it's rooted in our planet. Here's the thing. Our planet's fucking cool.
Our planet is awesome. Like, if you don't like it, get out of the planet. Still
you threw it back at them.
Yeah.
But okay, how do they not see the irony?
That's tricky, baby. I don't know.
But our planet's fucking cool. We're on the garden planet.
Jumped in a waterfall 3 days ago.
The garden planet. There's water.
We have
trees.
It's an abundance of beauty.
Bees
and wonder.
pollinating. Like honey. Like, it's just
Be a gnome instead.
magical.
I'd rather
Your
be a
alternate
gnome.
lives as elementals.
Yeah. Befriend
yeah.
a tree or an elemental spirit. That's a wild time. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't fucking know, friends, but I just recommend you be careful.
Be careful.
Be careful out there. I have channeled, okay, I was telling Laura about this earlier. I have channeled extraterrestrials in readings. It doesn't happen very often. It's very rare. And the ones that I remember, I don't always remember everything I channel when it happens because I'm not really in my body. But the one I do remember was long and dark blue, and they had like a dark gray head and long hands. They were like this pillar of dark blue light, not Aryan.
Someone be like, that's an Atlantean you're talking about.
Somebody's gonna comment.
That's an Atlantean.
And they showed me this symbol. It was a circle with like a cross in the middle, and it had different colors on each of the things.
It's all a swastika.
And it was not a swastika, it was a cross.
I am just kidding.
It was a circle. It was not a swastika. And
It'd be funny if it wasn't.
they spoke with their hands. Like, everything came through hand language, and then my like interpreter wheel was turning, and I was doing my best to explain what that spirit was saying. And the few times I've channeled extraterrestrials, it's always been about learning to be better humans and not superior humans.
And to not want to jump planets.
To not jump planets, but being a better steward of Earth, being a better member of our community, being better in service to our planet is always what they talk about.
That's nice.
Also had a few interesting moments where I've channeled these like space mothers, I want to call them. And they have stories about like when I sent, gosh, one of them was like an egg that came down into the sea, and then it cracked open, and like turtles and whales and other sea creatures came out. And it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of how different parts of the world have different creation stories and creation goddesses. And I thought it was like magical, like a magical origin story. And like, I believe in evolution. Like, I'm not
So do I.
one of those, but it's cool. Like, it's cool to have mythos.
Yeah.
So those are my
Yeah.
extraterrestrial experiences. So I do believe.
Yeah. I've seen some UFOs in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen like an alien or like
Like in Nope.
thought- Like, nope. When I was in that same school, that 3rd grade, where I was talking about, I think in the last episode, we saw, I remember seeing like 5 like red things in a line, and yeah, it was just very weird. And I was very into aliens when I was like, in the 90s, they were popular, like iconography.
We had the X-Files.
Like, we had the X, and like alien heads are like
yes,
that's the design of like the 90s, and like peace signs.
It was on rings and embroidered on our shirts.
Yeah, they were at Claire's. They were on hairpins, and like these aren't alien heads. My cow's getting abducted. My earrings. Like, I like aliens. They're not my favorite form of entertainment for like stories. That would be forest disappearances for me right now.
Ooh,
but
yeah,
Laura likes the spookies. But there's a lot. I believe in them, but there's a lot. I believe the people that have had experiences, just not the ones that say there are them and that they speak in tongues and they're starseeds.
I just don't buy
There's
it.
just a different. We're not saying like if you believe in aliens, you're full of shit. No. But
we believe in them too.
We believe in them too. And we're fucking witches. We're weird. Very weird. We do some weird shit. But believe some weird things, okay? And that's fine. But those specific practices and terms, like the starseeds, and it's rooted in racism. It's rooted in hatred and just like weird elitist things that...
Eugenics.
They're human-made. Like, they're not.
It's human made.
It's
That's
human
the thing.
made. The humans made this up.
It just happened.
It just happened. So that's what we're talking about here. Man, I have channeled like right in the middle of that shit. It was magical. I was like, I got all fuzzy eyed and like, I don't know how to. I had to interrupt you because I don't know how to stop it. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
word vomit.
It's gonna happen.
Like, I don't speaking in tongues.
I don't know how to like. Yeah, I don't know how to not. I don't know how to remember it and like be
no,
like,
you did the
patient.
right thing.
I went, shut up. I have to channel. That was crazy.
No, it was important.
It's just. It irks them and it irks me.
Seeking spiritual superiority is, what is it? Drowning
seeking spiritual. That I really like alliteration.
Drowning in yourself.
Is drowning in yourself.
Yeah.
You're just.
Amen. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
So it is.
God. Okay. I'm gonna have nightmares about. I want to watch the X-Files or something fun.
Yeah. Something wholesome.
Something wholesome like the X-Files. Or listen about a Betty and Barney Hill's abduction in the 50s, just some good lost time stories.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story is any spiritual practice of this world or any other world that centers around superiority and elitism and separatism is probably just avoid it.
It's probably a cult.
Just avoid it.
A cult, not a cult.
Dangerous.
It's
don't do it.
And anyone who puts themselves on a pedestal like that and says, I know these things, that without any sort of groundedness is very scary.
I know these things without any sort of training, lineage, ancestry, teachers, mentors. I just know this thing.
I just know
and I'm an authority on it.
Follow me on Instagram. Like,
yikes.
No. But just be careful out there.
Yeah, it's
wild. The truth is out there.
It's a wild world. It's a wild world. And we've got plenty of wild here. We don't.
Yeah, we don't. There's a lot going on, okay? Like I said, be a gnome. I want to know what gnome I am. Like, I don't want to.
We should make that quiz.
Let's make up. Oh my God, we should do an experiment.
Which elemental are you?
We should start we should start like starseeds are a thing. We should start making like what elemental gnome are you? And like make it a thing.
Make it like serious.
And make it serious and see how fast it takes to catch on, like a tulpa or like a made up an entity that you conjure. We could probably do it. We could get people to be like,
people who would fall for it aren't watching this anyway.
But the tongues are just like
that's the gnome.
That's the gnome language of speaking.
And the elves are like
that pixie's like
or it's like
then we become like the heads of the cults, and then we go, guess what, guys? This was all an experiment. And they're like,
But Laura made tote bags for everyone.
but I made a tote
Take
bag.
a tote bag.
Sorry you had to be a part of our epic experiment. Welcome to Third Eye Bind. We're sorry we fucked with your
We
head.
could get funding that way probably faster than we could with our Patreon.
Honestly, like in the business of witchcraft, sometimes you got to be a clown to get the following. So there's also that
Yeah.
aspect of this.
Oh.
Oh.
Anything else?
God, I don't think so. I
think
I'm
we got
done.
it.
I think I'm good off all of this right now.
Oh, we did it.
I channeled in the middle of that, so that was my candy.
It was wonderful.
And that was some good research, Kaitlyn. Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
Beautiful research. Frightening research.
Frightening. Oh my God.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Third Eye Bind.
Be sure to leave us a message on the Third Eye line. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Thank you so much for listening. You can follow the podcast at Third Eye Bind Pod on Instagram. There, submit your questions via the Third Eye line by sending us a voice message or text DM. The show is available wherever you listen to podcasts and for you to watch on YouTube. Get early access to episodes and even monthly one-on-one sessions with us by joining our Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/thirdeyebind. Third Eye Bind is produced and edited by Mike Realm. Hosted by Kaitlyn Grania and Laura Wong. Music by Mike Realm. Set design by Laura Wong. You can find Laura on Instagram at Lady Moon Co. And you can find Kaitlyn at kaitlyn.grania.